Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 3 of Locomotives in Review. In today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at St. Louis, San Francisco, or Frisco 1501. And for those of you who are 1522 fanboys, this locomotive will look very similar because it's in the exact same class of locomotives. I know it's not the 1522, so you might not get very excited, but it's good enough for me. So without further ado, let's get into it. Built in 1923 by the Baldwin Locomotive Works for the St. Louis San Francisco Railroad as the railroad's first 482 mountain type locomotive. The engine when put into service, the locomotive pulled passenger trains mostly between St. Louis and Oklahoma City, as most of the Frisco's mountain types did. The locomotive would endure a very successful service life, but in the early 1950s, the Frisco would retire the 1501 along with several other steam locomotives. But not to worry, in 1955, the Frisco Railroad donated the 1501 and an 1890s wooden passenger car, 653, to the city of Rolla, Missouri. Both the locomotive and passenger car will be put on display in Schumann Park. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. So now let's take a look at some of the locomotive's statistics. So the engine, as I've mentioned many times before, is a 482 mountain type locomotive. It was built in 1923 by the Baldwin Locomotive Works. The engine weighs 171 tons, as this is not a very small locomotive. It has a driver diameter of 69 inches, which is not the largest wheel diameter I've seen, but that's still pretty big. It has a tractive effort of 56,800 pounds. Again, a very powerful locomotive we're dealing with here, and a boiler pressure of 210 pounds. Today, the locomotive is still on display in Rolla, Missouri, the same place right in Schumann Park. For many years after the engine was put on display, it was rather neglected, it was left down the elements, and it wasn't doing so good. Sometime, I think in the early 2000s or 90s, I believe, a awning was added to protect the engine from the elements, but for the most part, the damage had already been done. The locomotive was not looking so good by the time the 2010s had rolled around, but in 2020, with the onset of the you-know-what virus, I believe it was the Rolla Parks Department decided to have the 1501 and passenger car 653 cosmetically restored. I believe the restoration began in April of 2020. And over the course of several months, the locomotive and passenger car would be painstakingly restored. And thanks to the dedicated efforts of the volunteers that helped restore the 1501, the locomotive and passenger car look good as new. And also, I noticed that the locomotive is open to tours by appointment. So if anyone is into that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have enjoyed this video of Locomotives in Review. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. We are very close to 100 subscribers, so don't forget to subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you enjoyed the video or if you want to leave ideas for future videos like this one. So this is CNW 1015 signing off. Have a wonderful rest of your day.